Okay, so I will go through the criteria of writing in part two again. Okay, so the first one is task response. It's quite hard to get nine. So we just focus on eight and seven, all right? So if you look at the first one, this one, right? Sufficiently addresses all parts of the task. Oh, okay, or you addresses all parts of the task. So what does this mean? This means you have to answer and discuss the two parts of the problem. Okay, so that's why I'm quite against writing one-sided argument, like you only focus on one side. That is not a very good thing to do, but you should always try to acknowledge and discuss both sides of the problems. All right, or you have to read the requirement of the test carefully. Like if they ask you to discuss both views and then give your opinion, okay, so you discuss both views, but then you forgot to include in your opinion, all right, you don't say anything about from your point of view, right, then you will lose score of this part, all right. um if you look at part six, right, the same with part with band seven, but the problem is some parts may be more fully covered than others. So this happens when, okay, you don't have a balanced essays, all right? So for example, you focus too much on this thing, and then you only say briefly, you just go through quickly the other side. That is not a good thing to do as well. If you look at the essays, right? Sometimes you write a very long body paragraph, okay? And then the other one is just a very short one. It's a lot shorter than the other one. Then that is when, okay, you will have this problem, okay, that is more fully covered than others, okay? So we don't want that, okay? We want the body paragraphs to be of, similar lengths, okay? We don't want one paragraph that is a lot longer than the other one. That is a really bad thing to do. Okay, so how do we make two similar paragraphs in terms of length? Okay, remember, if you have the same number of ideas, okay, then you should have the same number of sentences and the same length. Okay, so I've shown you this very clearly when I instruct you to to make the outline. Okay, make sure that the body paragraphs are of similar lengths, all right, and then you discuss both sides sufficiently. Okay, the second one, okay, in band 8, right, you need a well-developed response. Okay, a well-developed response, well-developed. Okay, so let's say if you say yes or if you say no, if you're in the middle, right? Yeah, like you're on the fence, okay? You don't really support either of them, okay? But you need to develop it. Like people need to see a development in your ideas, okay? They don't want you to like just throw a bunch of ideas there and don't explain anything. They need to see progression. They need to see development in your ideas, all right? And here, pay attention to the keyword relevant, extended. You see the word extended, right? Extend means expand, explain more, clarify more. Okay, so I don't want you guys to list out a lot of things. Avoid listing. I tell you guys many times already. I told you guys many times already. Don't list. All right. For each body paragraph, right, you just need two or at most three ideas. That's it. The problem is when you have like 4 or 5 ideas in one body paragraph, right, you can't explain them in enough details, all right? And when that happens, right, you don't extend your ideas. Okay, we don't see your development, and you were not a good score, for test response. Um, so for 7, right, you need to have a clear position. Same thing. A clear position means in the introduction, right, you say your opinion very clearly, and they are consistent. They're consistent with the body. They're consistent with the the conclusion. Sometimes you say I agree in the introduction, but in the body, right, you don't actually agree. You disagree. They're not consistent. Okay, or you don't say it like explicitly. Okay, then that is not clear. And when I don't see a clear position throughout your essay, right, you're going to get a bad score for this, right? All right, and a relevant position, the same, but not as clear. Okay, that will be band 6. Okay, and here, the difference between band 8 and band 7, all right, is that one, you overgeneralize. Okay, you overgeneralize. Chung quá. Okay, you need enough details, right? You don't want to generalize things. Okay, or your ideas, right? They lack focus. Okay, sometimes, right, you just say something, but they don't really support what you just said. Your examples are not relevant, Your examples, they must either explain or they must clarify. And remember, your examples, right, they can be something personal. They don't have to be something abstract, something general. They must be something, they can be something personal. But that thing, right, they must make sense. And you can make up a story if you feel like um, making up a story. That's okay, because they can't check the validity, the like the validity of the story. They can't check that. As long as it is like a logical story, um, you know, then we can accept that, right? Okay, what I'm telling you guys right now, all right, is it took me years, to understand this. So listen carefully, okay? And I don't think there's another teacher that can explain this to you as this clearly, all right? Listen carefully. All right, moving on to this one, coherence and cohesion, right? Coherence and cohesion, right? Thinking of it in terms of, the connection between ideas and the connection between sentences, okay? So the first one, sequences. Sequence mean order, right? So you arrange. It's like you arrange, right? Logically, okay? So what do they mean by sequence information and ideas logically? So when you do brainstorming, when you do the outlining, right, you always have an outline before you write. That is a requirement, because if you don't have that, right, you write a very shitty one. Because when we look at your ideas, right, we can see, like the connection between the ideas. How are they relevant? How do they support each other? What is the progression here? The idea A and idea B, right? Are they, like relevant in any sense? Okay. If we don't see that, right? No coherence. Okay. Or, manages own aspect of cohesion well. You see there's a thing called cohesive devices, right? Things like however, nonetheless, things like that. Okay. So at band 8, okay, you use them very well. Okay, so there wouldn't be something like misuse or overuse or underuse, right? So at band 7, you use them appropriately. So you use them correctly. So you understand the cohesive devices very well. You know how to use however, you know how to use nonetheless, for example. But sometimes they are just too obvious. You don't need to use those, but you still use those. Okay, sometimes the connection of the sentences are already clear enough, already strong enough, already obvious enough. We don't need that, but you still put it there. So they are redundant. So we call that overuse. Okay. Or sometimes between the two sentences, we need something to connect them, but you don't put it there. You just assume that the reader will understand it, and that is underuse. You understand? Okay. So at band 7, right? Okay, you must understand the cohesive devices, all right? But you use them correctly, okay? When it is necessary, you don't overuse it, okay? And you don't assume that the readers will understand you, okay? So always proofread, all right? And this is a very important one. You need a clear central topic. What does that mean? What is a clear central topic? Okay, so we're talking about paragraphing. So basically, what it means is that you have different paragraphs. Okay, and for one paragraph, we must see a purpose, a main theme. Like what are you trying to achieve after that paragraph? What is that? All right. What is okay? So let's say we are doing the question, discuss both views and give us your opinion. Okay, so let's just say the topic of taxes, this one. Okay, so the question says very clearly, right? Discuss both views and give your opinion. So in order to do that, okay, so our outline could be something like this. The intro, the body one. So body one will focus on, argument for, high grades of taxes. So in body one, in the first body paragraph, we only focus on that thing. Okay, we only focus on that. We don't talk about anything irrelevant here. And for body two, we only focus on argument against high grades of taxes. Okay, sorry, typo. So this is the central topic we're talking about. I think this, you guys have been doing very well. For conclusion, okay, this is where we give you talk about your opinions here, okay, and you make a conclusion. Okay, so intro, okay, you will introduce the topic. You introduce the topic, okay, and you state your viewpoint. Okay, and or you can save it like for the last one, for the conclusion, that's fine. Okay, so basically central topic here means you have a focus for each paragraph, okay? And a very good technique is to start the paragraph with topic sentence. Oh, come on. Jesus Christ. Come on, Jesus. Ah. Hey guys, are you still hearing me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can still
Not
hear
sure
you.
why it's just lacking so bad. Oh, okay. So,
Yes.
remember, please remember to start the paragraph with a topic sentence. This is something that you guys haven't been doing very well. Okay. You don't always start the body paragraph with a topic sentence. So remember to do this. I think there's one person in the class that does this very well. That is Hui. His essay is very, consistent. He always started with a topic sentence. Okay, so for example, this is his topic sentence. Okay, It is undeniable that if the government puts a high tax on each individual, they can use the received money for community purposes. Okay, he should have stopped here instead of going and talk about that. Should have just stopped here, community purposes, because when we talk about transport facilities or new public schools, right, that will be too specific already. Okay. So this is a topic sentence, all right? The topic sentence, right, it should give us a focus, okay? And it should be short as well. Shouldn't be too long. Okay, if you write like 25 words, right? Sentence, that is not a topic sentence. A topic sentence should go anywhere, between 15 or 18 words. Okay, that's it. All right, but then again, we can write even better topic sentence for this one. So for example, right, the focus of this paragraph, we are doing the prose, right? So we can say, just give it simple, right? Don't try too hard. I think there are several reasons why. What is the topic? Topic again? Take a large proportion of people's salaries to pay for necessary public services such as roads and schools. Okay. So that thing is called direct taxes, wide high rates of direct taxes are sensible. Okay. All right, keep it short and then first. So I paraphrase, instead of repeating that, the term for it is called direct taxes. And instead of saying take a large proportion of people incomes, right? I paraphrase it by saying high rates. Okay, or yeah, so it is a topic sentence, right? So for the whole paragraph, right, we're gonna focus on why it is sensible. It is a sensible thing to do. And we should have two ideas, first and second, and that's it. For the other one, right, we do the same. On the other hand, okay, in under certain circumstances, okay, this approach may be inappropriate. Okay, and then to begin with, all right. Or, I don't need to say to begin with, and, I just go straight and start with the first idea. So you basically, we keep the topic sentence short and concise and clear. Okay. So when I say this approach may be inappropriate, we know that this paragraph is gonna discuss the argument against the high rates of direct taxes. And we keep it short. Okay, it is, like how you should write topic sentence. Okay. Now, let's talk about band 6. So at band 6, right, you can arrange them coherently. And there's a clear progression. So you see, we need to see a progression. If we don't have that progression of ideas, right, we are done for. Remember to make your outline. We need this. We need a progression for coherence, cohesion. And we also need this for, type response. Okay, so outlining is very important. Okay, at band 6, you use cohesive devices effectively, so you know how to use it, basically. However, they may be faulty. Faulty means wrong. Okay, so sometimes you use them, but you use them, in a wrong manner. Or sometimes you use them, but it sounds mechanical. Mechanical means you use them like a machine. You don't understand it. You don't grab the sense of language. You just use it like a machine. It's called mechanical. And it is why copying essays is a very stupid thing to do. Or copying, like a person sentence is a very stupid thing to do because it sounds mechanical. When you learn a language, right, trying to produce something original, when you try to learn something by heart, okay, people know, examiners, right, they are trained to know, they are very well trained. So if you use something because you learn it by heart, right, it will sound mechanical. They will know. So don't do that, all right? May not always use referencing. Oh, it is a very interesting thing. What is referencing? Referencing is basically the use of something like it, like this, like that, like those, okay, like they, like using relative clause. So the point of referencing is to show the connection between ideas and the connection between sentences, okay? But sometimes you use the wrong word, okay? You use it, it is supposed to be it, but you say this, or it is supposed to be that, but you say those, for example. So when you don't use referencing clearly or appropriately, appropriately means correctly, okay, then you lose score for this one, okay? And the last one, you use paragraphing, but not always logically. Okay, so that means, right, you fucked up your paragraphs. They don't have a focus, they don't have a connection. Okay, they don't have a clear purpose. You fucked it up. Okay, so yeah, not logically. Hello, everybody. Are you still with me?
Yep. I'm still hearing.
Okay, Dak, you have very good concentration.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm still hearing you.
okay, cool. All right, now we talk about lexical resource. All right, lexical resource is basically talking about vocabulary. Okay, so what is required by name? You need a wide range. Notice a wide range of vocabulary. You use it fluently and you use it flexibly to convey precise meaning. Notice the word precise. It is a very interesting thing. If you notice, right, towards the C2 and towards proficiency level, vocabulary is mostly abstract. And we move towards, more precise and clearer in meaning. Okay, so how can I make examples of this? All right. So you see, when you start with something, you know, when you first learn English, right? We just say good. We just say good, right? If something is good, it's good. But as you learn more, we have different way of saying something is good. My favorite one, for example, we say superb, excellent, very good quality. It's not just good, it's extremely good. Okay. Or, if something is good enough, right? Just enough, we say it's decent, a good enough standard. Okay. Not particularly good, but okay. Another word is acceptable. Agreed or approved by most people in society. Good enough standard. Not very good, but good enough. So acceptable and decent, they're quite similar. Okay, so we have decent, we have very good, and we have superb, right? And then something that is like very, very good, right? We can say sick, that we're sick, but not as in, you are bored or, you are sick like mentally or, like physically, but here, it's a slang, very good, a lot of fun. So precise meanings here means you know the words to capture what you want to say. Okay, or or a good example is that instead of saying income taxes, right? Oh, okay. So we talk about flexibly means we can use the language to describe the same thing but using different words, using different words. So that means you have to be able to paraphrase. Okay, so income taxes, you can say it, you can paraphrase it by direct taxes, right? Okay, or you can say tax imposed on individuals' earnings. Okay, so we basically have different ways of saying the same thing. And precise means we know the terms for it. Okay, so that is what they mean by you write something fluently, flexibly, and to convey precise meanings. And at this level, you may try to use uncommon lexical items. But notice, by uncommon, it's not something that people don't use. Uncommon here means you move towards like really abstract terms. Words that native people use at C1, C2 level. Not old-fashioned words or, like words that people stop using already. Words like confabulations, right? I don't know why, like, there are people using that word in speaking or in, in writing. I've never heard someone use confabulation before, honestly.
I
Okay, so
even wonder what the heck is confabulation.
yeah, I don't know really. So by uncommon, by uncommon they means they mean the words that you typically see in nonfiction books. The words that you would typically see, in materials that are targeted at native speakers, not for people that learning the language. So, for example, so recently I'm reading a book called Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He is a psychologist, and something uncommon here means words like irrationality or predicament. So yeah, words like that, but not really like words that people never use. So if you want to get good at you know writing, you have to read more. Or this word gratification. I love this one. So most of you knows the word satisfaction. Agree? But satisfaction, it convey a different meaning from gratification. When we talk about something, when we talk about pleasure, when we talk about instant pleasure, so something you get from doing something, like when you do something you like, right? Okay, we call it gratification. And we have a collocation for that, that is instant gratification. Okay, so for example, when you are bored, right, you usually reach out to your smartphone, right? Because you are bored. You do it out of boredom. But the problem is, people say that will give you instant gratification. If a native speaker says that, right, he will say instant gratification. He will not give you, he will not say satisfaction. That is the difference between C1, C2 level, especially C2, and a person that is still at B2 or maybe C1 level. That's the difference. So by uncommon lexical items, I mean words like that. Okay. Remember, learning the language is all about input and mimicking. Input means like what you read, what you listen to, what you watch. Basically, you have to try reading or watching materials for adult, sorry, not for adult learners, but for like native speakers. And when you read enough, when you watch enough, and you see the kind of language they use, and then you can successfully mimic that, copy that, that is when you reach proficiency level. Okay, the next thing. Okay, and here at band 8, sometimes you make occasional inaccuracies in word choice and collocations. So when I fix your essay, okay, if I write word choice, then you know that word is not supposed to be there. So what do you do in that case? Okay, very simple. You go back to Oxford Dictionary and you read that word again. An example of this I remember because I skimmed through his essay today. So for today, he wrote something here, compulsory. A high levy is compulsory for public services improvement. Okay, so the word compulsory here is wrong in terms of context. Wrong. Look it up and you see. Okay, compulsory means that must be done because it is a law or a rule, right? So for example, it is compulsory that you are not to go outside these days because we are doing social distancing. So compulsory is used to describe things that is required, things that are required by laws, or that is a rule. So it is not fit, it is not suitable here because the word that you need is not compulsory. It should be necessary. Okay, so it's not compulsory. Context. Even though when you translate in Vietnamese, it makes perfect sense, but here it doesn't. Okay, so nhiều người có cái niềm tin chắc cú là thuế cao thì là bắt buộc cho cái việc là improvement, cải thiện cái dịch vụ cộng đồng rồi. Nhưng mà cái vấn đề là cái từ bắt buộc ở trong tiếng Việt mình đó, nó có hai nghĩa. Nó có thể mang nghĩa là necessary, mà nó cũng có thể mang nghĩa là bắt buộc của luật pháp luôn. So, like in Vietnamese, we have words that that are ambiguous. Ambiguous. Like ambiguous means we can understand it both ways.
Đa nghĩa thầy.
Yep, that's right. So when you try to translate, right, from Vietnamese to English, okay, that is a very bad thing to do. It's extremely bad, very, very bad. It's a nasty thing to do. Instead, what you should do is try to learn it in English. Read the definition. This will tell you the context, okay? This tells you when to use the word and when not to use the word. Okay, if you learn the word compulsory like this, you can't write compulsory here. You can't. You should use the word necessary. Okay, so that is word choice. Collocation. I'm not sure like if you have mistakes in collocation because I'm sorry, I didn't mark your essays very carefully today. So let's just go through the essay last time. Do we have collocation? Let's look at Thu's essay. Do we have collocation mistake here? Oh, So basically, remember words, right? They must go in phrases. You can't just mix them randomly. You can't just, oh, this word must go like really well with this word. So I just make a random combination. Who cares? But native speakers, right, they use word in fixed, I repeat, they are fixed phrases. So if you want to have a good score, if you want to be close to proficiency or native level, you have to use the language like the way native speakers do. And if you want to do that, then you have to use them in collocations. All right. So for example, we don't really say I merely partly agree because it is not a collocation. It just sounds weird. Okay. So that can be an example of collocation. Or where okay, I'm sorry guys, I can't give you a good example of a collocation mistake right now, but yeah, you get what I mean. Okay, and you produce rare errors.
Nãy giờ tao thấy cái
Oh, sorry.
à,
Okay, and you produce rare errors
yeah.
in spelling, and spelling means what? Spelling means the way you write it. Okay, so basically you don't make any typo mistakes. Okay, and word formation, word form. I think a good thing about Vietnamese students is that they rarely make any errors in terms of word formation, but spelling, yeah, sometimes. And you know what? These mistakes are completely, utterly avoidable. The reason why you make the mistakes is because you are too lazy and you don't proofread your essays before you submit. And it is a very stupid thing to do, especially in a real test. Okay, so make sure that you proofread your essay before you submit. Okay, we don't want any spelling mistake because it takes like what? Like a few seconds to fix that. So if you don't fix that, right, just a stupid thing to do. I don't see like why like people don't proofread their essays. Like you can save it 5 million within like a few seconds. Like why don't you do that, right? It makes perfect sense to me. Okay, now for band 7, it's basically the same. But basically in part 7, in band 7, you basically make more mistakes than in band 8. And allow some, notice the word some, flexibility and precision. So you try to use the language, but it is still limited. They have a feeling that you can't convey what you want to convey. So that is what I'm saying, some flexibility. So you don't always paraphrase successfully. And they have a feeling that you are not trying, that you are not conveying what you want to say, or you are being too general in word choice. And that is when only with some precision. For band 6, it's really interesting. Adequate. Adequate means okay, good enough, not particularly good, but I understand what you mean. So that is band 6 for you. Okay, band 6 means not good, not bad. I understand what you mean. You generally successfully convey what you want to say. You know what? At band 6, I think you're already a successful learner already. Sorry for repeating the word success. Already. When you work with native speakers, for band 6, like if you can adequately convey what you want to say, that is already a big success. And I think Vietnamese people are very talented because you guys usually learn a lot of vocabulary to get to this point. I'm proud of you. Here, attempt to use less common vocabulary. but with some inaccuracy. Okay, so there this question. Should I use advanced vocabulary? Especially when I don't really remember what it means. I kind of remember it. I kind of understand it. So should I use that word? The answer is no. Because when you try to use those, but then you make mistakes because you don't understand the context. You don't understand the structure of that word, like what preposition to use with that word, okay? Then you should not do that, okay? You only use what you know, what you understand well, okay? Do not use the things that you don't understand. That is a very bad thing to do, okay? And how do we get better at this? Okay, focus on quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. Okay, so for example, when you learn a word, right? Okay, I taught you guys this so many times already. Okay, so Yulin, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm summoning you. Okay, so Yulin, tell me, when we learn a word, what do we learn?
We should learn the script first, a transcript first, how
Exactly.
to pronounce it correctly,
Right.
and then we learn the meaning of it.
Yep, the context. Okay, especially when it has different meanings, right? And we learn all the meanings, if possible. And if it's too much for you, right? Have the habit of read through everything, going through everything. It takes like a few more seconds of your life, Like you have like a bunch of time to text your boyfriend, girlfriend. Like why not spend just an extra 30 seconds on reading that word? The problem is your boyfriend, girlfriend may break up with you, but the word will never leave you. It stays in your head. Okay, Yulin. So after we learn the
No.
context, what is next?
Then we read the examples of that word.
We read the example of that word precisely here. Okay. But actually, before we read the examples, we read the examples to understand the context. I agree. But also we need to pay attention to collocation if there are any. We have to pay attention to that. Okay. And also we have to look at synonyms if there are any. Okay, and we may check it out as well, go through it. Practice the habit of reading everything in dictionary. I find it a very important habit to have if you want to become a proficient speaker of the language. So transcription, context, collocation, example sentences, and if there are some small notes, right, and read those as well. Well done, Yulin. Okay, you've been a good student. I'm proud of you. Okay, and here it is very interesting. So you make some errors in spelling and word formation. Okay, so your mistakes are obvious. We know that, we understand that. But if they do not impede means prevents, obstructs, make it difficult. Okay, so if you make mistakes in spelling and word formation, but I can still understand what you mean. Okay, maybe luckily, maybe your ancestors helped me to understand it, because your ancestors love you so much and they don't want you to fail, so they help me to understand it. Then okay, congratulations, you got band 6 for vocabulary. Okay, but if your ancestor don't love you, okay, and I can't read it, I can't understand it, then you are done. Okay, you make a mistake, a very big one. And also, we should talk about the intelligibility of your handwriting as well. I know some of you have very bad handwriting, and this is not going to help you in the real exam. Okay, because if your writing is intelligible, I can't read it. I think it is a spelling mistake, or I think it is a word formation mistake. It's not because you don't understand it, but it's because your handwriting is so bad. I can't make out the words, Then, okay, it is a spelling mistake for you. And I don't understand it. So, yeah, there will be a penalty for that. So make sure that you write everything clearly. Okay, so that is it for vocabulary. And the last one is grammar. Okay. So the first one at Band 8, what do we have? We need a wide range of structures. So people usually are very worried about the word wide range. What does it mean by wide range? By wide range means you use compound, you use complex sentences. If you want to do this, just use relative clauses, conditional sentences, cohesive devices like however, nonetheless, so on. If you do that, you already write compound sentences. Okay, passive voice. I think for academic writing, you just need passive voice, conditional sentences, and relative clause. Yeah, three structures. Relative clause, vấn đề quan hệ, right? Conditional sentences, câu điều kiện, right? Passive voice, câu bị động, right? And cohesive devices like however, but, so, and, or. Not but, and or. Or is okay, but not but, okay? Try however instead. Basically, try cohesive devices. If you do all of that, right, then congratulations, they're already wide range. But remember, don't overstress yourself, right? Focus on communication and ideas, and usually you should use them naturally without having to worry about the wide range thing. Majority of sentences are error-free. It is very interesting. So if you make a few grammatical mistakes in your writing, right, you still have band 8 for grammar. You still have band 8 for grammar. It is very interesting because they only say the majority. The problem is they don't really explain what do they mean by majority. So by majority, do you mean 99% or 99.99%? Or do you mean by just maybe 80? Because for me, 80 is already the majority. Okay, so they don't really say this. So we don't really know how many grammatical mistakes you can have. It is very important, bear that in mind. Since we don't know how many mistakes we should have, we should try to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah. Try to be perfect.
Exactly. So try to make no mistakes. It's very simple, if you already have a strong foundation of grammar, then that should be achievable, should be feasible, should be doable, should be easy. Like for some of you, it was easy for me because I have a very strong foundation of grammar. But remember, that's a tip. The problem is when you write something, you only focus on conveying the meaning. And usually your mind will subconsciously or unconsciously make grammatical mistakes. And even native speakers will do this as well. Okay, so it is a very good practice. I would argue it is a necessary one, a highly recommended one, that you proofread your essay one last time before you submit. Okay, timing is a very important thing to do. When you're at home, right, try putting yourself under a timer 40 minutes, and make sure that you always have a spare 3 or 5 minutes for proofreading everything. But if you don't manage your timing very well, 2 minutes is good. Because usually these grammatical mistakes are easily fixed. Okay, can be easily fixed. So yeah, make sure you do that. All right. Makes only very occasional errors or inappropriacies. Okay, so basically try not to make any errors if you want to have a good score for grammar. So long story short, the key lesson here for grammar is that you use the structures like passive voice, conditional sentences, cohesive devices, passive voice, relative clause, yeah, relative clauses, and structure like clap sentence. It is that, right? Like those structures. I don't really think we should use inversion because it just sounds weird to me. The thing about inversion is that it is a very fancy way of writing. So unless like you are writing something very fancy and your writing is really superb already, like ideas, coherence, cohesion is superb, uh, vocabulary is superb, ideas superb, text response superb, then maybe inversion. But if not, right, then you should not use that. For one simple reason, imagine your essays is full of errors, and then you have something really fancy. They don't just go with each other. So don't do that. Okay, don't worry about inversion and stuff. Don't try to be fancy. Keep everything simple. Rather, what you should focus on at proficiency level is that you try to use grammar the same way native people use. If you read the sentence, right, the grammar they use is always straightforward. You never misunderstand it. If you misunderstand it, it's rather because of your reading comprehension rather than the inability or the incompetence of the writers themselves. Okay, uh, so for example, this sentence, right? It is not a complex or compound one, it's just a simple one. But this emphasis on the postponement of gratification is to a certain extent inevitable. The use of to a certain extent, and they put it in the middle of is inevitable. This is a very natural way of using grammar, and it is what you have to try to mimic. And the word used as well, postponement, emphasis on inevitable. To a certain extent, that is proficiency level, that is native speaker level. That is what you're trying to achieve. Okay. By this point, grammar, it is not a tool for you to show off like how good at English you are. But grammar, it should be straightforward. It should be a tool of communication that keeps everything clear and straight to the point. And grammar, it should be, similar in terms of style of that of the native speakers. And you have to read books. I don't think there's another way to learn this apart from reading as many books as possible. Like even if you spend a lot of time, let's say doing all the grammar books available on the world, yeah, you will have a very good foundation of grammar. You understand everything, but you never become good at writing. I'm pretty sure of that. Pretty sure of that. So read more books, all right? This is nearly the end of the course already. And from the very first day that we worked together, I tried to introduce you to the habit of reading. In fact, I did lend some of my books to you. Some of the books that I valued a lot, like the book Deep Work or the book Atomic Habits. Oh, no, you don't get the atomic. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. So yeah, and I do give you a lot of ebooks to read as well. So that is why I emphasize on reading as much as possible. Okay, because that is the only way you can get to that level. I don't see another way. If you do know, then tell me. But I personally don't see it. And like, to be honest with you, like, people who have reached proficiency level so far, I have met only very few of them. I used to be in the University of Education in the English department, where we have a lot of like people who are good at English. And most of the people I work with, even the lecturers at that point, they got something like 8.0 of IELTS. And that is like a good command of English, but not proficiency yet. I'm talking about the lecturers. Some of them got 8.5, and very, very few of them got proficiency, like 9.0. Very, very few, like one or two. And I think partly because, we're learning English the wrong way. We focus too much on reading grammar books, but rather we should read books that are meant for native speakers. And by reading a lot, you will absorb it. Um, I think the word absorb is the best one. Or you will, when we talk about learning languages, we have two different ways. The first one is called acquisition or acquire. Acquire means you learn it passively, like you read and you listen, and then if you do it for a certain amount of time, then you eventually you'll be able to do it without noticing it. That is acquiring, like a child learning the language. Learning is when there's a teacher showing you the point. That is learning. So you have to combine, like what I'm doing now. I'm teaching you guys, so you guys learn, but at the same time you have to read and you have to listen. You have to watch the materials I give you at home, or you can find the materials yourself, and you do it a lot, then eventually you do it. That is acquiring. So yeah, remember that, okay? Because I'm not teaching you guys forever. You see, I will show you the path. I show you the path, but I can't take you there. You have to go by yourself. I can only take you to a certain point. I can go with you forever. I can't do that. So yeah, make sure that you when you stop learning with me, okay, you will still maintain the habits that I have taught you, okay. That is very important. All right, now band 7, you use a variety of complex structures, a variety of, not a wide range. So basically you use different. It basically means you use different structures, different, okay. Frequent, error free. Again, what do you mean by frequent? By frequent, do you mean like 70% of them is correct or what? So again, we don't know, right? We don't know. So avoid making mistakes, right? Has good control of grammar and punctuation. It is interesting. Punctuation, dấu câu, right? Dấu câu, punctuations. All right. So the thing about punctuations, right? I don't think you guys understand this very well. I tried to touch you before with the mistakes in writing, like sentence fragments or run-on sentence. So like where we should put the comma, where we should put full stop. But yeah, this can be solved by simply doing some Googling, like tap something like correct punctuation for formal writing. Okay, that's all you need, right? There's a bunch of them. Dear comma, semicolon, colon, yeah. There's a bunch of them. Or I love websites by university. They usually have superb guidance on writing. So basically, Google. Google is your best teacher, not me. Okay. At band 6 level, you only use a mix of simple and complex sentences, complex sentence form. So you try to use the structures, but they are either not correct or they are either not very diverse, okay? And you make some errors in grammar, okay? So you fucked up your grammar, but they rarely reduce communication. So again, you are pretty bad at grammar, but for some reasons, your ancestors love you again. So they help me to understand your sentences. Okay, so that really reduced communication. So it means I understand what you mean, even though you are wrong. But you should understand that even if you speak, let's say, I usually call it tiếng Anh bội. They can still understand you, but is that good English? No, obviously not. Okay, so for band sakes, if you think you can make a lot of mistakes, as long as they don't prevent others from understanding you, that is fine. No, don't do that. Okay, so long story short, for the whole grammar thing, if we want a good score for grammar, okay, try to use a wide range. By wide range, that means conditional, passive voice, relative clause, cohesive devices, clap sentence, it is that. Okay, that's it. Use them correctly, and you should have a good score for this. And keep everything simple. And then learn some tricks as well. Learn some writing tricks, like the trick of putting to a certain extent in the middle of the sentence immediately before the adjective. It is a very good way of writing, And remember, grammar is the tool of communication, not the tool of showing off your grammar knowledge. Okay, try to focus on communication, focusing on communicating, focusing on conveying what you want to say. Okay, don't try to be fancy. Don't try to make things complicated. Remember, when I read your sentences, okay, if it go in a linear manner, like it goes straight, then okay, that is good grammar. But if I have to read it a few times to understand it, then even though the sentence is not wrong, that is not good grammar, because I have to read it twice or 3 or 4 times. That is not good grammar. Good grammar means it's short, it's concise, it's meaningful, it's beautiful. I read it once and I understand it immediately. No comprehension problems. That is good grammar. Okay, so we just go through the 4 criteria of IELTS writing. And I think this should be the criteria for all kinds of writing. All right, basically, threat response, coherence, cohesion, lexical resource, and grammar. So basically, we have a score for each of these. All right, and then we combine them and then we divide it by 4. That will be your overall score, and then we may round it up to a higher score. We round them down to a lower score depending on the fraction. So yeah, so that's how it works. Any questions? Hello, any questions?
No.
Really.
Nope.
You guys will be sleeping, huh?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions about the criteria and stuff? Okay, if you don't have any, if you don't have any questions about the criteria, right? Then go on and read this vocabulary list. All right, we discuss it in a few minutes.